Welcome back to the Michael D. Show. I'm so excited about this next guest because she wrote a best-selling book. She's here today. It's called Mind, Body, Food. Madison Madden, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Now tell me about this relationship with food you wrote in Mind, Body, Food. What's the story behind the story here?
Well, it started with my own story, which is when I was about 19 years old, I looked down one day and I was on about 8 different pharmaceutical medications and I felt like I was dying. I had told everybody in my life I didn't think I'd live to be 30. I was just kind of following the helpless spiral of downward health, and I was struggling with a lifelong eating disorder, chronic digestive issues, chronic pain, everything you can name it. I felt like I was an 80-year-old walking around my dorm room as a 19-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
And one day, I, just had a moment, like an aha moment that was like, you know what? I need to take responsibility for my own health. And so one of the first things I did was start to change my diet. And that took me on about a 15-year journey of learning about food, learning about me, learning about health, learning about industry, learning about agriculture, everything you name it, and the connection between it all. And I realized that we have a culture-wide eating disorder, and that eating disorders are rampant. When I really got into this, I thought that I was the only one. I thought it was, it was closeted, it was hidden, it was secret, it was shameful. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that almost every single woman that I knew was struggling with some sort of eating disorder. Then I started talking to men and realized that, oh, wow, we have a really dysfunctional relationship with food.
Interesting.
And then as I got into health and Ayurveda and different integrative health practices, I started to realize that food is actually completely fundamental to everything we do. We have a relationship with it from the moment we were conceived until the moment that we die. Wow. It's really, the way I just talk about it is, it's our longest term relationship. Mm-hmm. We play out the same interpersonal dynamics with it as we do with people, with our intimate partners. We play control games with it. We fantasize about all these similar relationships as intimate relationships do. And really, it's a relationship that we have with ourselves. And so
what a discovery.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have any points in writing the book that were difficult?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. Because, this book is really vulnerable. Mm-hmm. I talk about the things that we don't want to talk about most of the time. Mm-hmm. I talk about, the sustenance that we experience and the lack thereof as we grow up. I talk about how food relates to pleasure and eroticism and the ways we experience our bodies that we don't want to talk about. Mm-hmm. I talk about the connection that it has with meaning and connection and service in our lives, and how we actually play things out with food when we're missing other things in our life.
Wow. So we're having an emotional deficit and we're using food to fill that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot of positive feedback. Give me an idea of some of the feedback you're getting from people that are reading the book everywhere.
What I usually get is, reading your book is like a breath of fresh air. Yeah. Finally, somebody is talking real about this topic. And thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your story, because it unarms me to be willing and able to talk about it for me. Well, that's really my goal.
Well, this epiphany you had in your dorm room when you're 19, and you went on to become, you earned a doctorate in this field. Give us a little idea about the designation you've earned.
So I practice Ayurvedic medicine, which it's young in the U.S., but Ayurveda is actually one of the oldest systems of health on the planet. It has the key to a lot of the modern health issues, health crises that we're facing today. It's been talking about the mind-body connection, the connection between the gut and the mind, the immune system, all the things that we're dealing with on a worldwide, global health crisis. Ayurveda has been talking about for 5,000 plus years.
Right, wow.
And so what I do is I help people create lifestyles that are sustainable, diets that are sustainable. This is not a book about, it's not a dietary theory. It's not saying, this diet is for everybody. It's saying, there's a relationship with food that suits you.
Yes.
And that can be sustainable.
I love it that it's called Mind, Body, Food, as you start with the mind first. Give me some mindset shifts that you uncovered for yourself and that you teach your students.
Yeah, so one of my favorite ones is sweets.
Yeah?
Right?
Yeah, I'm addicted.
So oftentimes people come in and they say, I'm addicted to sweets. What do I do? Right?
Yeah.
So I ask,
Tough one.
are you craving sweetness in your life?
You take it to that deeper level of what's driving that.
Yeah, because oftentimes, if not always, a food craving, we crave when the body's in balance, we crave what keeps it in balance. But when there's an imbalance, when there's something that's your life or your body's longing for that really has nothing to do with food, we often project that onto the food.
Ooh.
So what happens is we look at food and we say, okay, I can get sweetness here. But what I'm really looking for is sweetness in all of the other areas of life that I can get it. Because our diet isn't just what we eat. It's what we eat, it's what we drink, it's what we breathe, and it's what we perceive.
Wow, that's really powerful. How do, Madison, how do people find you and get you on their podcast and get you on their stage?
LiveWiseHeal.com.
LiveWiseHeal.com, and the book is Mind, Body, Food, #1 on Amazon in multiple categories, the hardback, the paperback, the ebook. And are you going to be doing an audiobook as well?
We are going to be doing an audiobook.
Oh, that is really exciting. What was the toughest part for you in this journey of just getting the book completed?
You know, the toughest part of getting this book completed was the courage to put out some of these very vulnerable topics. Like I said, that, usually aren't talked about in public.
Opening up your heart and pouring it into the book.
Yeah, and it's the unseen areas of our life and saying, all right, here I'm wide open. Are you ready to be wide open? And let me help you with that.
And friends, family, strangers, here's my book.
Yeah.
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 I can see that. I can see that. So where do you see yourself 3 years from now that the book's out and you're speaking? What's your real goal for the book? What do you hope to accomplish?
I hope that it gets in the hands of the right people, that it can really help people to reframe their relationship with food, and not just on a personal level, but on a cultural, collective level too. I'd like to address the imbalances that we have in our around the globe, actually, with the food processing, agriculture. It's one of the main contributing factors to climate change, and really talk about what a big deal this is.
Well, you talk a lot about sustainability. Did you sense, as you were doing your research, did you sense pushback, and did you ever feel a little bit afraid to come forward with that message? Because it's not real popular with big agro, right?
Right. Yeah, it's one of the things I mentioned is food, you run up against some of the biggest, most powerful entities on the planet when you start talking about the reality of this topic. And it is a little intimidating sometimes, but it is imperative. We don't realize it on a daily basis, but we're in a state of emergency when it comes to the way that the state of our planet. And so we have to talk about it, whether it's comfortable or not.
Well, I love what you've done in Mind, Body, Food. Madison, thanks so much for joining us. And you're going to be hearing a lot more from Madison Madden. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me.